I was halfway to the podium when a single chair scraped behind me, loud enough to slice the ceremony in half, loud enough to tell me my life was about to split with it. My moment shattered before I even reached the stage. At my own graduation ceremony, with applause still soft in the air, my sister stood up like she'd been rehearsing this scene for years. Her arm shot forward, finger pointed at me as if she were delivering a verdict. She cheated her way through college. No whisper, no tremble, just a clean, public execution. The entire auditorium turned as one. Faces stiffened. Shoulders tightened. Even the air felt embarrassed for me. My parents didn't move. They didn't blink. Ariana didn't need backup. She thrived on the burn of an audience. And me? I kept walking. One breath. One step. Holding together 4 years of work with nothing but spine, and whatever pride hadn't been crushed under her words. Before I tell you what happened when I reached that stage, where are you listening from? And if you were me, what would you have done? I never grew up expecting my sister to become my enemy. If anything, I spent most of my childhood trailing behind her, catching whatever light Ariana naturally carried. She was the golden one. Loud, bright, magnetic in ways that made people lean toward her stories at family dinners in Portland. I sat beside her, learning how to fold myself small so she could shine. But everything changed when I stopped being quiet and started becoming someone. By junior year of high school, my grades edged past hers. Teachers called on me more. A scholarship letter arrived with my name at the top, and the smile Ariana gave me tasted sweet in the way fruit tastes when it's been left out too long. College only widened the gap. I left for campus with a duffel bag, a stack of psych textbooks, and a soft hope that maybe, for once, I was allowed to succeed. Ariana stayed home after dropping out of her grad program. Different paths, I thought. Different timing. But then the first crack appeared. My scholarship refund arrived short. Missing money. No explanation. When I asked my parents about it, they shared a look too quick, too loaded. Then came the emails. A plagiarism complaint I'd never heard of. A canceled appointment I never scheduled. A tutoring accusation from someone I'd never met. Small things. Harmless on their own. But they stacked on top of each other. Little weights tightening around my reputation, until I could feel eyes trailing me through hallways like I was something fragile, something possibly broken. My roommate Lena saw it before I could say a word. "You're checking your phone like you're waiting for something bad," she said one night, her voice soft in our cramped studio. I didn't know how to tell her the truth. I wasn't waiting for bad news. I was waiting for pattern. Still, I kept hoping it wasn't Ariana. That my sister, the same girl who used to braid my hair before school, couldn't be the one unraveling my life thread by thread. But hope blinds you right before the final blow. And Ariana knew exactly when I wouldn't be able to defend myself. The months leading up to graduation felt like living in a room where someone slowly dimmed the lights. Not enough to make me panic, just enough to make me question what I was seeing. Scholarship adjustments. Missing forms I'd already submitted. My campus portal locking me out for suspicious activity. And then Professor Hale called me into his office. "A complaint came through," he said gently, hands folded as if to soften impact. "Someone claims you plagiarized." The words didn't just hit, they lodged. Burrowed. Confirmed what I was afraid to admit. Someone wasn't dimming the lights. Someone was unscrewing the bulbs. And then graduation day arrived. And Ariana delivered the final blow. You won't believe what I saw when I finally stepped onto that stage. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but Professor Hale lifted a hand, gentle, stopping me without force. "I don't believe it," he said quietly. "I'm telling you so you can prepare." Prepare. For what? A war I didn't start? Whispers followed me out of his office like shadows that had been waiting for their cue. Evan, someone I barely remembered from freshman year, studied me in the hallway like he was trying to decide if I was the rumor or the truth. A girl in my lab group avoided eye contact entirely. Even Lena, who trusted me by instinct, asked, "You don't think someone's targeting you, right?" "I don't know," I answered. But I did know. I just wasn't ready to say it out loud. Not yet. The turning point came the night I opened my inbox and found an email supposedly sent by me, canceling a faculty meeting I'd been relying on for my capstone review. The tone wasn't mine. The phrasing wasn't mine. The signature wasn't mine. But the consequences? Those were very painfully mine. I sat on my bed in the half-light of our studio apartment, scrolling through memories of Ariana like I was replaying an old film I'd refused to watch until now. Backhanded comments disguised as jokes. Smiles sharp enough to cut. Times she brushed off my wins as luck. The way she'd been drifting, bitter, ever since dropping out of her grad program. Always comparing, always counting what wasn't hers. And somewhere between those memories, the truth finally took shape. Quiet, sharp, undeniable. This wasn't randomness. This wasn't bad timing. Someone was choreographing my downfall piece by piece. That weekend, I drove home. I found my dad in the backyard, standing beside the old fence he'd been promising to fix for years. He watered the hydrangeas like the world wasn't closing in on me. Dad, has Ariana ever said anything about me? About school? He paused, water spilling over onto his shoes. She's been tense, he admitted. Said you get everything handed to you. I told her that wasn't fair, but he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The fracture was already there. When I returned to campus, I made my decision. No more guessing. No more hoping I was wrong. I reached out to a tech investigator named Noah Vance, a friend of a friend who said he could find ghosts in a machine. Within days, the ghosts had names, timestamps, locations. And one of them was Ariana's. That was when the quiet dread inside me hardened into something else. Resolve. Noah didn't talk much. He just listened, really listened, as I laid out everything. The missing scholarship payments, the canceled appointments, the accusations whispered so softly they still managed to spread like smoke. When I finished, he tapped the corner of his laptop. If someone's been in your accounts, he said, they left footprints. People always do. 3 days later, he called me back to his shared workspace downtown. The place buzzed with low conversations, fluorescent lights, and the hum of vents that had seen better years. But Noah's screen was razor sharp. These are your login logs, he said, pointing. Except here, here, and here. Those aren't yours. My stomach tightened. The access came from another device, he continued. On a home network in Portland. My chest clenched painfully. I didn't want him to say it. He said it anyway. The same network where your parents live. Something inside me curled inward, like my ribs were trying to shield my heart. He wasn't accusing them directly, but he didn't have to. Only one person in that house knew my passwords, my security questions, my patterns. Ariana. Noah scrolled again. There's more. The missing scholarship funds? Someone removed them twice, he said. Then he opened another window. Transaction logs, mirrored emails, mismatched characters. See that? The tutoring accusations were sent from an email one character off from yours. That's deliberate. That's intentional. Intentional. The word felt surgical. Precise. Cold. I left the workspace shaking, my phone buzzing in my hand, and whatever waited on that screen, I already knew it wasn't going to make things better. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Lena, you okay? You've been quiet. I couldn't respond. Not yet. I needed air, space, something steady enough to hold on to. Instead, I drove straight to my parents' house, parked in the driveway, and stared at the porch light flickering under the early summer sky. It swayed in the wind like it was unsure of itself. 20 minutes later, Dad found me there, shoulders tense, concern written all over his face. Jolie, what's going on? I didn't tell him everything, just enough to let him feel the edges without cutting him open. That scholarship money that went missing? The plagiarism complaint? Someone's been in my accounts, messing with my life. He swallowed hard. Are you saying... I don't know what I'm saying. I lied softly. Not until I have proof. Because the truth would break him. He still believed Ariana was complicated, not cruel. Wounded, not dangerous. He didn't see what she was doing because I'd spent years covering it for her, smoothing over her behavior with excuses and smiles. But I wasn't covering anything anymore. Back on campus that night, I pulled every file, every screenshot, every strange timestamp Noah had confirmed. If Ariana wanted to tear down the life I'd spent years building, I would protect it with what remained of my strength. The next morning, I contacted attorney Mara Reyes. She read everything slowly, carefully, then asked only one question. When do you want this to stop? When it's no longer just me she can hurt, I said. And something shifted. Quiet but absolute. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was preparing. Graduation was 2 weeks away. I tucked the evidence into a sealed envelope, labeled, organized, ready. And for the first time in months, I felt something other than fear. I felt direction. Those 2 weeks passed like I was living in split timelines. In one, I was a normal student returning my dorm key, finishing finals, testing my cap and gown in the mirror. In the other, I was preparing for a quiet war. A war Ariana didn't know she'd already lost. The night before graduation, I barely slept. I laid everything out on the table. The sealed envelope, the printed logs Noah verified, the statement Mara helped me prepare, my capstone summary. My hands didn't shake anymore. They had the steadiness of someone stepping out of survival mode for the first time. At sunrise, I slipped the envelope into the inner lining of my gown and walked out the door. The university auditorium in Portland was already buzzing when I arrived. Students hugged each other. Parents fanned themselves with programs. Faculty floated past in regalia. Everything looked normal, festive, hopeful. And beneath it all, a slow thrum of dread tapped against my ribs. Not fear of Ariana. Fear of what she would force me to reveal. When my family arrived, I noticed it instantly. Ariana wasn't dressed like someone attending a graduation. She was dressed like someone hosting one. White blazer. Dramatic makeup. Posture too straight, too rehearsed. She scanned the auditorium, eyes darting, searching for attention she'd already decided belonged to her. Mom waved at me first, too brightly. Dad hugged me tightly, lingering a moment longer than usual. He sensed it too. Something was coming. Ariana stood behind them, arms folded. "Congrats," she said smoothly. "Big day." "Yeah," I replied evenly. "Huge." Her smile flickered, sharp, predatory. And for a brief moment, I saw it in her eyes. She didn't come to celebrate. She came to strike. I took my seat on the stage with the honor students. From up there, the crowd looked like one breathing organism, shifting in anticipation. The lights warmed my face, and a strange calm settled in my bones. Dean Matthews met my eyes from his seat. We'd spoken the night before. He knew, but Ariana didn't. And that was the part she should have feared most. Everything. He gave the slightest nod. The ceremony rolled on around us. Speeches, applause, the music rising and dipping like the day refused to choose a mood. My name was alphabetically toward the end, which meant Ariana had a wide-open stretch of time to decide exactly how she wanted to ruin me. And she took every second. I heard the scrape first. Her chair snapped backward like she'd kicked it. Then her voice, shrill, slicing, designed to wound. She cheated her way through college. The words ripped through the auditorium like fabric tearing. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Professors froze with their hands half-clasped. Phones rose instantly, bright little rectangles dying to catch the drama she craved. "She doesn't deserve that diploma," Ariana shouted again, louder, pointing straight at me. She lied. She manipulated the system. Ask anyone. Dozens of faces turned toward me, their joy draining into shock, then settling into something messier. Concern, confusion, curiosity. A whole sea of eyes, silently asking the same question. Is it true? I stood. Every step down the aisle felt deliberate, measured, the click of my heels like a countdown. I didn't look at Ariana. Not because I feared what she'd say next, but because I already knew what this moment would cost her. Students shifted aside. Some whispered. Some stared. A few looked away completely, as though whatever humiliation she wished on me might be contagious. But humiliation wasn't what lived in me anymore. Purpose did. The dean waited at the podium, expression steady, hands resting lightly on the stack of diplomas. The room still pulsed with Ariana's accusations when I reached him, but his voice was calm. Jolie Hart. I accepted my diploma, lifted my chin, and leaned in, just an inch. It's under my seat, I whispered. Envelope marked A19. He didn't flinch, didn't ask a single question. He simply smiled, small, knowing, and nodded. That nod was the quiet beginning of the end. Behind us, security moved with quiet precision. A faculty member approached Ariana's row, where she still stood, chest rising and falling, makeup cracking under the heat of her own performance. She didn't realize the room wasn't hers anymore. Not after the dean's nod. Not after the evidence waiting beneath my chair. As I stepped off the stage, the energy shifted. The whispers changed direction. A woman in the second row lowered her phone, frowning, not at me, but at Ariana. A professor shook his head. A local reporter leaned forward, scribbling furiously. Ariana felt it too. What? She barked, her voice wobbling. You all saw it. She didn't deny anything. She just stood there. She didn't understand that sometimes silence isn't surrender. Sometimes silence is strategy. Security reached her row. One officer spoke softly, offering her the choice to step out. But Ariana never did soft. You're all blind, she screamed, jabbing her finger toward me, desperation cracking through her polished exterior. She's been lying for years. But the crowd wasn't with her anymore. They'd seen me walk, calm, steady. They'd seen the dean's quiet acknowledgement. They'd seen her unravel. And unravel she did. Her voice cracked first. Then her hands. Then the control she'd always believed she had. Over me, over our family, over every version of the story she'd ever told. Security guided her toward the aisle, not harshly, simply in the direction her own choices had carried her. At the doors, she twisted back, eyes burning with disbelief. You think this is over, Jolie, she spat. You think that little whisper makes you innocent? I didn't look back. I just kept walking, because I already knew something Ariana hadn't realized yet. This wasn't the end. It was the opening scene. I didn't look back, because I didn't need to. The truth was already moving, quietly, legally, irrevocably. After the ceremony, I met the dean backstage. He held the envelope I'd hidden, the one Ariana never imagined I'd actually use. This is serious, he said gently. So was what she did, I replied. He nodded, steady, resolute. Minutes later, Mira arrived, crisp and controlled as ever. She spread the papers across the table, log statements, summaries, screenshots, redirected transactions, each piece pointing in one direction, one name. She won't be able to spin this, Mira said. Not in front of the academic board. Not in civil court. Not anywhere. And just like that, the final stage of Ariana's plan collapsed. Not because I screamed. Not because I dragged her into the chaos she wanted. But because I refused, flat out refused, to fight on her terms. The investigation began the next morning. By the end of the week, Ariana was banned from campus pending review. 2 professors came forward with emails they'd brushed off months earlier. The scholarship office traced rerouted payments directly to devices linked to her. When Noah submitted his digital reconstruction, the board didn't need more than a single meeting. Ariana's sabotage wasn't just proven. It was undeniable. Her outburst at graduation, the very spectacle she staged to destroy me, became the clearest evidence of motive, obsession, and malicious intent. And when the noise finally settled, something surprising happened. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. In the weeks that followed, the investigation moved faster than I expected. The academic board released its findings. Ariana had accessed my accounts, redirected scholarship funds, fabricated emails, and interfered with my academic standing. She was officially banned from campus and referred for civil action. When Mira filed the restitution claim, the evidence was so clean the negotiations barely lasted an hour. My parents didn't take it well. Shock, denial, Then quiet acceptance once the paperwork left no room for imagination. Dad called one evening, voice heavy. I should have seen it, he whispered. I didn't blame him. Ariana had always known how to hide in the spaces where love blurred into assumption. Soon after, I moved into a small apartment in Corvallis. Nothing fancy, but light poured through the windows every morning like the world finally remembered me. I bought a second-hand table, adopted a cat who claimed every chair like rent was already paid. Let my life become simple again. For the first time in years, my days weren't shaped by fear or second-guessing. I studied, I walked, I breathed, and little by little, the space Ariana once filled with chaos became something gentler, room to rebuild myself on my own terms. If there's one thing I learned, it's this. Telling the truth isn't about winning. It's about stepping out of the shadows someone else built around you. Ariana's choices shaped my pain, yes, but they don't shape my future. I built that myself, piece by piece, with proof, patience, and a refusal to shrink for anyone again. If you've ever had to stand up to someone who should have protected you, you're not alone. Share your story in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want more stories like this, stories about truth, healing, and quiet revenge, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter.